This is the Unspoken Podcast on the Undetermined Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, Cheap Seat Sports Production part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. It's episode 42. What's the answer to everything in life, boys? 42.
Oh, it's not bringing Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is not bringing me joy this week, folks, and it's been a rough one. As I'm sure our listeners may have heard, the Yankees did not clinch the division. They did not earn a trip to the World Series, and it's Houston and the Dodgers, and the series is currently tied 1-1. And can I just go off? Can I just do something a little bit out of character for a moment?
Uh-oh, he's starting early.
Fuck!
That's not what I was expecting, but let me clarify Nick's anger here, that the Yankees didn't make it, like you said, and basically they shit the bed in Game 7, and we all thought after that amazing catch by Aaron Judge in the outfield that we had a chance to win this game, and basically the pitching was bad, and and basically
dreams don't come true. There's no tooth fairy, and the guy who plays Santa is just a fat tax collector.
I guess so, but that's an interesting way of putting it. But I guess you could say,
speaking of out of character, did anyone notice the little extra that I added to the end of episode 41?
No.
You missed it, Nick?
Oh, I didn't see it.
I missed it. What
you
did you
missed it too. At the end of episode 41, the music faded and there was silence. And then at the end, out of character, I just got on the mic and went, fuck LeVar Ball.
Oh, yeah, you did do that. That was fun.
No, but just to make an endpoint on that series, the Yankees really made it a lot further, and all these Yankee fans, including ourselves, we need to be careful what we say about the Yankees, because the Yankees were not supposed to really contend this year. They were not supposed to make the playoffs. They're supposed to be under 500. They really weren't supposed to have the core the way they are. They're probably set up for the next 3 or 4 years. But people need to take it easy. And we'll get into it in this podcast, what happened, certain news that just broke. But I think Yankee fans need to take it easy quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
Honestly, but they made us believe. That's the thing.
But here's the thing.
They raised our hopes and dashed them quite expertly, if I may use a Futurama line.
But here's the thing, boys. It's like I posted on my personal Facebook. Yes, it was a bad loss. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it stunk to come that close and yet be so far away. And, basically, like, we were right there and we just fall short. But we weren't supposed to get this far. It was, we could pull it up from, like, an old episode where I said, and Nick knows this for sure. I quoted
I said it too.
But at least you had the Yankees making the playoffs. I said
they weren't going to at all. In fact, you said you said they were going to make third place.
I said that it was going to be like last year where they were in September. It's like, oh, maybe, just maybe, and then they would break our hearts again.
See, you were a lot better than I was, because I said that they were probably going to finish in last and embarrass themselves, and then they were going to go out and spend a shit ton of money in free agency. But somehow they managed to take this young core of Gary Sanchez and Aaron Judge and Torres and guys of...
Torres isn't up yet.
I mean, not Torres.
Torres?
Torres, thank you. And all of those guys.
Greg Bird and Luis Severino.
Right. All those guys who... Well, Severino was kind of a sit and wait. We were waiting for him to finally break out, and he did. So now we can expect him to be up there as an ace of the future for this team. It's just a matter of getting his emotions in check. Like, not in the wild card game, but once we got past the wild card game, his emotions were in check. But this team is set up. I could see the dynasty of the early 2000s coming back now.
I'd pump the brakes on that a little bit, Morganson, because there are two things that give me pause, Nick, and I must voice them here. Okay, so we were playing with house money this year, right?
Right.
Next year, the target is on their backs. They have to come out swinging next year. They have to come out and win the division. We've seen how important it is, home field advantage. Even in this postseason, and it's not just the Yankees. Every single home team has done fucking great at home since World Game 2.
Let me add a fact. Because I know you guys were in the middle of talking about the Yankees, so we might as well finish it. We'll take that one breaking news thing a little later. But as we entered the World Series, when it was before Game 1 started, the Astros and Dodgers were both undefeated at home.
Right, that's my point. And you were about to say it, Nick and Tom. You're both about to say it. That the home teams in this playoffs this year have really been the de facto advantages. It's been very weird because the couple years before that, there were a lot of away game wins. This year, there hasn't been that many.
Well, part of it comes now that the All-Star game doesn't determine World Series. I mean, home field advantage in these series anymore.
Yeah, and rightly so. The All-Star game shouldn't be deciding home field advantage. It should be whoever wins the division has the best record. That's the team that gets home field advantage.
Right, but it also never used to be that way in MLB either. They would always exchange it between the AL and NL League either in every other year, which also didn't work.
No, and basically we saw it. And Nick, I know you were about to make this point about how the Yankees were a much different team on the road than they were at home. It's true. And everyone is saying, and I heard it yesterday from a lot of different people that, the Yankees were down 2-0 and they won 3 games in a row because they were playing for their manager. Well, that's BS. They weren't playing for their manager. No one plays for their manager. They play for themselves. And I think they just happened to be a better home team than away team, so that's why they won 3 in a row to make that a series again.
Not to mention Cleveland. I also consider it partial of Cleveland's choke. How, what was it, 8-9 errors in the 2 games?
Well, yeah, it was 8 or 9 errors and then 2 errors on one play that gave them the winning run in the game.
It was embarrassing by Cleveland. But again, it goes to my point of why we shouldn't look on this season as a disappointment. We should look on it as amazing. It was a great ride. It was like, in the case of me, they're going to, finish in 3rd place. And suddenly they're in the playoffs.
Right. But
they go down 3-0 in the first inning of the wild card game. They come back. They are down 2-0 to the Indians. They come back. It was a lot of fun. But I do agree that expectations have now risen for next season, which is a downside to this amazing year.
No, they totally have. Expectations have risen, but you still have to look at that they're not a perfect team. And
they're not, yeah.
And I wouldn't say that. Is there a target on their back? Yes, but they're not the one target that everyone is chasing. I would disagree from that standpoint. They're a target like the rest of. What?
You would?
I would consider that they're one of the targets, but I wouldn't call them the target.
Because I'll say that I kind of agree with the sentiment of Morganson that the Yankees have a big target. But I think the Astros will also have a big target. The Dodgers will have a big target.
Especially if the Dodgers don't win, then they're going to become a major target.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to think of who else would have a target. Even though the Indians ended up choking in the postseason, I think they'll still have a target with how good of a season they still had.
I think, to be honest with you, that the Indians are going to have the biggest target on their back because of the season they had, the 22-game win streak that they had, and they couldn't win. 2 years in a row, they couldn't win. They had their best opportunities to win, and they blew them to teams that shouldn't have been beating them.
No, it's a good point. But the thing that gives me I'm still, maybe it's playing to my superstition, but I still think that these guys, I'm still undecided about whether this season was lightning in a bottle for these kids or they can actually produce. And it's going to be.
Well, that'll come down to 2 things. One, some performances for next season. You got to wonder, the old sophomore struggle, is it going to affect any of these players? And number 2, it also will depend on the Yankees' offseason moves.
Which I don't think there's going to be a ton of them because they're not looking to go out and spend. I think if they're going to go out and spend, it's going to be someone like a Matt Holliday, which if it wasn't for his injury, he might have been a better option off the bench. But I'm saying if he wasn't in.
See, guys, I don't think they should be focusing on their hitting.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I think that I don't think they're going to make a lot of pitching moves because I think they're going to go within the organization and take their pitching.
I mean, what were you going to say?
So, yeah. So you're saying they might that they might go and insert Chance Adams into the rotation?
I think it's possible because I think that they really the last couple of years have been trying to get away from spending.
Well, it's not just that. I'm trying to bring something up here because I'm trying to find like my recent searches. But basically, I was going through the free agents for this coming offseason. And to be honest, there's not a lot of great pitching arms out there. And I still feel like the Yankees, as much as Severino has broken out, as much of the good years CC has had, they're in need of a number one. They're in need of an ace.
Well, Severino's the ace.
I mean, yeah, but
they're not in need of a number one.
Hmm?
They're not in need of a number one. Severino's going to be their ace.
I don't know.
The guy had a breakout season.
But it's one season.
Can you do that again? Is what we need to see.
In other words, they need a trusted arm.
All right, but wait a second. The guy is 23 years old. You can't get on him right away. The guy had a great season.
I'm not trying to get on him. I'm just saying, for the Yankees' sake, it could be. Here's the thing: the Yankees need to focus on pitching and defense in this offseason. Pitching.
You don't think they play good defense?
Not that I don't play a good defense, but do you know what the problem is going to be now? With all these young guys, we got log jams.
Yeah, and you're definitely going to need to try and find a trade partner for Jacoby Ellsbury. At least try.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's probably going to be Gardner more than likely than Ellsbury. Only because Ellsbury's got that stupid contract.
I think that you're basically like you know how in the NFL you get stuck with dead cap money. You're basically stuck with Ellsbury in dead cap money for the Yankees, and I don't think they're going to trade Gardner because Gardner came up with big hits, and he's that guy that comes through in the playoffs for them.
And now, but in the infield, you also have a problem because you mentioned Gleyber Torres, and you're excited. Okay, where's he going to play?
That's the problem. Like, no one expected Gregorius to come through and be this big guy.
Well, still, Gregorius, I still think should be playing shortstop. Gregorius should not be traded. I've had that.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was a surprise how good he became. And now you can't remove him from that spot. He's too good for them.
Well, and now here's the problem you have because they're saying, I don't know. Because here's the thing. You could make a move with either Headley or Todd Frazier. Here's the problem with Headley and Frazier. It's like, what do you value, one or the other? Because Headley, great hitting season. Man, he can't throw a ball for shit anymore.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Once you put him at first base, though, he actually wasn't bad.
But then guess what? You have another problem. Greg Bird's here. Tyler Austin's still there. And Tyler Austin's in 2 log jams.
Wait a minute. Forget about Tyler Austin. Tyler Austin is nothing. So...
What?
He's nothing.
You're talking about praising the youth of this team. You're talking about praising the youth of this team, and you're not giving Tyler Austin a chance?
No, because there's no room for him right now. Where are you going to put him?
But that's exactly my point. We have a logjam situation.
First of all, to be honest with you, I'm not a big Greg Bird supporter. I think he just happened to get what he got this playoff, so that's why everyone is saying that he's going to come through now that he's healthy.
Now he's healthy. Give him a shot.
No, I said you got to give him the shot, and then you're going to keep one of them. First of all, you're going to keep Frazier or Headley. You're not going to be able to keep both. Just because of salary alone, you're not going to be able to keep both.
I mean, because that's the thing. I mean, you have Headley. Like I said, Headley's the better hitter, but he stinks in the field. And then on the other hand, you got Frazier, great fielder, and he'll give you a lot of good home runs, but he's only going to hit 240. He's going to be a number 9.
I think the thing
Frazier's a free agent anyway.
I think Headley might be a free agent either this year or next year, I think.
He's arbitration eligible this year. His contract is up next year.
I think this is my opinion. I think you got to keep Frazier because Frazier is the third baseman and you need a third baseman.
I agree. Frazier is the one we should keep.
And Headley is expandable partially. Maybe you could put him on the bench if he's willing to take less money.
Maybe.
He can kind of play that Matt Holliday role.
Here's what I was going at with the pitchers. Because I'm thinking, part of me is also thinking they're going to stay with the organization. Because, I mean, I'm not ruling out here's the thing about what I was saying about Severino. I'm not ruling out the possibility that it could be him. But that wouldn't be exactly the Yankees' choice. It would be more forced because, look, I'm going to bring up the free agent pitchers for this.
Yep, that was going to be my next question. Who's out there that's really valuable to have?
Well, here, I was just going to pull them up. And
Okay.
Here comes the problem. Okay, we can go after one of these starting pitchers, but all right, this thing's a little slow, but this is a free agent tracker. Ready? So after Sabathia is the obvious, but Hellickson sucks. Lackey sucks. Arrieta sucks.
Arrieta's going to command too much money on the market anyway.
Ubaldo Jimenez sucks. Lance Lynn, he's only a 3 or 4. He isn't a 1.
The Yankees didn't want to trade for him. What does that tell you?
Right. Edwin Jackson, no. Bartolo, out of all these people, Bartolo is probably the best one of them, which is sad. That's
my Jesus.
And I think Bartolo's going to retire soon anyway.
Right. The only quote big arm, like a 1 or 2 that I see available, and it's only because of like an option of sorts, is Madison Bumgarner. And that's only because he has an option. I think it's a club option.
They're not letting him go.
I was going to say, it depends on what the Giants want to do, because on one hand, you're thinking they're a rebuilding franchise. But on the other hand, I just read a report. They're looking to get Giancarlo freaking Stanton. They're the early favorite, believe it or not.
I don't think the Yankees are going to pay for him, to be honest.
It's Giancarlo Stanton or Madison Bumgarner?
Either, because I think the organization... I think the organization is trying to stay away from the big contract.
Right.
Well, that makes sense, but let's. You don't know. Well, you don't know what Jeter might do with him. You don't know what Jeter might do with Stanton now that he's running the Marlins. I think honestly that he'll try to.
It's Jeter and a bunch of other.
Well, yeah, Jeter owns under 1% of the whole organization.
Jeter's just the face.
Yeah, but he's the president of baseball operations.
That's true. I'll give you that. But he owns less than 1% of the organization. So as much as he's a valued opinion,
he's the president of baseball operations. So what he says kind of goes.
But he still has to answer to stakeholders.
I was just about to say
his shareholders, but I can't imagine them not signing off on what he would do, because I'd imagine he made his plans known before he bought the team.
Yeah, and you know what? I think this organization is a crappy organization because they're knocking people out of their organization, including Andre Dawson and Jeff Conine, out of their organization because they feel that they know the organization better as stakeholders than former players of the Florida Marlins. So,
but also, so here's what I'm seeing for the Yankees next year. If it was up to me, Headley's out, Torres is in.
Keep Frazier.
Keep Frazier. Keep him as your number 9, as your.
I would drop Holiday also.
Well, I feel like if we're doing that, like, and we're moving, basically it's like one or the other with Frazier or Holiday too.
Yeah, it's definitely Frazier.
Outfield, somebody's got to go because, in all honesty, there's a logjam there.
Well, I think what's going to happen in the outfield is Gardner's there. He's under contract.
Judge is not going to go anywhere.
No, Judge is not going anywhere. And I would start the year, at least, put Hicks in center field and put Ellsbury on the bench. You have to. It's the way it has to be.
I agree.
Imagine if you can't find anybody to take him, then you have to.
First base, you have Greg Bird. As much as you may disagree with Tyler Austin, I say for Ronald Torreyes and Tyler Austin, have them as bench players.
They're super utility players.
Exactly, super utility. Have them go anywhere. And have Austin Romine as your backup catcher. For your starting pitchers, Severino, Sonny Gray, Montgomery. the pitchers that I said, because of like how the market is, I say maybe go after them, but go lightly. Don't go all head on like old school Yankee style.
If of course Tanaka decides to opt out, because that's the other thing that we're not talking about.
There's still Tanaka.
He's not opting out. Trust me.
Right, he's not opting out. So if that's the case, then Tanaka, Sonny Gray, Jordan Montgomery, Severino.
Right.
And then for your fifth, you could look into the organization.
Right. But what I was going to say to Nick, that if he opts out, let him opt out. He's not going to get a whole ton of money somewhere else.
Right. But he would be foolish not to.
We just seen. Well, we'll get to that we'll get to that in a bit. But we've seen unexpected shit happen this week.
Yeah, right. But where is Tanaka going to get more money? No one values him any higher.
Right. And then as I was saying, for your other one, it's like you could look at those other pitchers, but maybe you only tread lightly. You don't go full head on old school Yankee style. And if that, of course, doesn't pan out, then obviously it's spring training. Look at all these young stars coming up and pick one of them, like Chance Adams, to be your fifth.
I was going to say maybe you could look at Jake Arrieta if it comes at a cheaper price, but it's probably not going to happen.
Nah, probably not. And then bullpen, I'd say keep your bullpen intact.
The bullpen is strong. Someone's got to figure out what's going on with Dellin Betances, because something is wrong with him mentally.
Right.
Well, we will see.
And
we should not.
If anything,
we should not.
What?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
If anything, Dellin Betances, reel him out there as trade bait for something. You don't know what, just see what offers you get. Play around with what you get what I mean? Play around with the market. If worst comes to worst, you keep him and, see what's wrong.
See,
I'm just saying keep the possibility there. I'm not saying do it. I'm saying keep the possibility there.
See, I think they should move Robertson back into the eighth inning role, because that's where his prominent role should be. That's where he was with the Yankees, and they kept swapping him around, which was a mistake. I think that you can even have him pull a Mariano Rivera back in the early 2000s and have him pitch the seventh and eighth inning at times if you wanted to. The guy freaking pitched 3 innings in the playoffs.
Well, we've seen some interesting stuff happen with pitchers and the playoffs. It's been quite an interesting time with how managers are utilizing their pitchers.
Oh, my, yes, it is. And what we've seen this past World Series, these past 2 games, Game 3 is up tonight, right?
Game 3, as of the words coming out of our mouth, Game 1 and 2 has happened. Game 3 still not yet happened.
Right.
Yeah, Houston they're zombies, because just when you think they're dead, it's like the ending of the Terminator. You blow them up in a truck, they keep going. You stick a dynamite in between their waist, blowing their legs off, it still comes crawling after you. These guys, every goddamn time, this perfect little fucking team just manages to get everything together. Just bumblefuck everybody up.
That's an interesting way of putting it. But what I was going to say is, that ridiculous 103-degree heat that we had in Game 2 in the middle of October? It's almost like Houston was melting towards the end of Game 2, and then somehow they found like this chunk of ice and managed to refreeze it again in extra innings.
Yeah, somehow they play dead. I don't know. I don't get it.
They got Kenley Jansen to blow a save. That's rare.
Well, that was very rare in the standpoint of the Dodger bullpen has been like the Yankee bullpen, where they've been like unhittable to the point where if you get something off of them, everyone's shocked.
Although I will give credit, that game a couple of nights ago for Game 2, that was one of the best World Series games I've ever seen.
By the way, 8 home runs, I think, in that game?
It was 7 or 8. I think it tied a record.
It did tie a record. I think it was 8 home runs, including 2 in extra innings.
And the fact that you were able to come back at all, not just against Jansen, but to that Dodger bullpen, they've been pitching their trousers off. And the fact that this happened, it's a one-testicled unicorn. It is a rare, rare, rare occurrence.
Where do you come up with these things?
I'm just saying. I don't understand where this is coming from, but I guess to the surprise of all three of us, this team is actually that good.
Well, here are the home runs for those of you who want the specifics. Here are the home runs. Bottom of the fifth, home run by Jock Peterson. Bottom of sixth, home run Corey Seager. So that's 2 Dodger home runs. Carlos Correa, Houston home run in the top of the eighth. Marwin Gonzalez, top of the ninth, big home run. That was, I think, the blower, right? That was the save blower.
Yeah,
that was the save blower, the Gonzalez home run. Top of the 10th, Altuve with a home run. Correa with another home run. Oh no, was that? Yeah, that was on. Oh, Correa had an RBI single, but that's another RBI for Correa in that game. Bottom 10, Yasiel Puig with a home run, and then Kiki Hernandez ended up tying the game. But then George Springer hits a home run in top of the 11th. It was a 2-run shot. Culberson hits a 1-run shot in the ball.
What out of the park? They pull within one, but Ken Giles manages to nail it down.
Yeah.
You might need a map to navigate through that inning again.
Yeah, that inning was one of the craziest innings we ever seen in World Series history, from home run to home run. And you know what? The bullpen finally had some exposure in that one inning. And just, you know what? It makes it a better series, because if they were down 2-0, I don't think they were coming back.
By the way, I'd like to make a note. Game time, 4 hours, 19 minutes. Oh, I couldn't go one more minute longer.
Oh, come on. You're really gonna do that joke?
You're such a jerk. But I was going to say...
We're a mature show here, man.
Yeah, really. But I was going to say, before we move on to this, did anyone realize that Game 1 was 2 hours and 28 minutes?
Yeah, I was like, okay, I turned away for something because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do some work or something. I'll come back to it later.
And the game was over.
When it's closer to I think I go on and the game is over. I'm like, what the hell?
I was like, wait a minute. I was going to turn it on. I'm like, it's over. What the hell?
I know. And things just seem to be going the Astros' way. Even stretching back to the series of the Yankees. I mean, the fact that the manager can get into a fight at the hotel bar that the team was staying in and not get arrested. Meanwhile, if this was Buck Showalter, you'd probably have to drag him away in cuffs. No. You'd have to probably put him in a straitjacket. But this guy gets off with a warning?
Well, I'll say this. I don't know. I heard no punches were thrown. I heard it was just a big argument, altercation, and cops were called. But I will say this, because certain my friends are like, why is this a story? I'll tell you why. Public figure, police involved. It doesn't have to be a full-blown page one, but it could be like a small security brief on one of the pages.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And basically the way TMZ is always looking for a story. So if it involves a big figure, they're going to send it out. And I think TMZ...
And they'll blow it up. They'll blow it up.
That's what they do. They're bullshit artists. That's what they do.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. I mean, not that I. Maybe I'm just being bitter because I just there's just something about this team that just. You remember we did a segment a couple of months ago, Tom, you and I, where we did teams that aren't your direct rivals that you just hate for no particular reason.
I think you brought up Astros, didn't you?
I think we may need to add this current version of the Astros to that list because everything about this team just annoys me.
Can I be honest with you? I could see a formation of a Yankees-Astros rivalry of this generation.
I mean, I think that's jumping to a conclusion a little too soon because I wouldn't count the wild card game. That really doesn't go towards it because I think that was a different team at that point.
I wasn't counting the wild card game. I was counting.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that if you're looking that far back, but I would say that
from this point forward.
Right. If they play again in the ALCS this coming year, then you have a legitimate beef for a rivalry coming up.
But the fact that this team's been so much has seemed to go their way. It's almost twee. It's twee than Wes Anderson sitting in a knick-knack store in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's how twee it is. I'm just saying,
That was the most random thing I think you've ever said.
I don't
understand. I understand that. I'm just saying.
I'm trying to figure out how to respond to this right now because
I'll respond because but it's going to be something Nick doesn't like anymore because we all, for the record, all three of us agreed that this was going to be Dodgers in 6.
Yes, we did.
This is the second time in Unspoken Podcast history that 3 people have agreed on an outcome. The first, of course, being during the NHL show when me, Nick Federa, and Eric Leisel all agreed that it was going to be. We all predicted a Caps Predators final for this coming season.
That's right, we did. We didn't end up picking a winner, but we did end up picking the participants. So we'll give you a prediction. We just won't go all the way.
Right.
That's what she said. But
and you said I was immature. You said I was immature for the 420 joke.
You know what? I had to change the mood a little bit. But since we're talking about the World Series here, do we want to change our predictions here, or are we going to stick with the predictions?
No, I'm going to stick with it because
I'm also going to stick with it. But I'm going to make a note. I think Nick is not going to want to hear this, but this win in Game 2 was the best thing the Astros could have done to help their odds with the World Series.
No, I'd agree. I definitely agree. And they're good. They are good. And I don't mean any disrespect to this team or the Astros fans. I mean, God knows this city needs a break. Everything we've been through in the past couple of months.
Well, if you saw what J.J. Watt was doing, and if you saw the story the other day that they raised a combined $37 million for the relief effort.
J.J. Watt. I love that man.
And what that team has done, it's given these people, most of them who lost everything,
right,
a reason to be happy for a couple of hours, and that's doing God's work. Mm-hmm. I really can't fault them for that. I'm just being bitter, because.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. If there was one team that I expected, like if I had to pick one of the two to break, the others undefeated at home in this playoff run, I would have picked the Dodgers ending the Astros run happening before the Astros ending the Dodgers run.
Yeah, but I still don't think the Astros are strong enough to win this series.
I still think the Dodgers can win 2 of the 3 in Houston and then try to force Houston to win both 6 and 7 in LA, which I don't think Houston could do.
Especially
they could do it once. I see the Dodgers self-correcting but I don't see that happening again.
I was gonna say, but the minute the Astros win 2 in Houston, it's going to be Houston's World Series.
No,
I think
or at least Houston's World Series to lose. If everyone will point to Houston if they can't win, even if it means they have to win twice in LA, everyone will still put the pressure on Houston.
Well, yeah, because Houston is kind of like Cleveland in the sense where the last couple of years they've been really good 100-win teams and they haven't gone anywhere.
Pretty much.
No, it is. But you know what? It's going to be good watching anyway.
Definitely.
But we should not. However, we should not beat around the bush. And as long as we're still on baseball, I think we should.
Okay.
We should move to it.
All right.
That Joe Girardi, after a decade at the helm of the New York Yankees, and after a World Series title, is not going to be retained as the New York Yankees manager. And this came as a shock, actually, because I actually woke you up, Tom. But yeah. I was so angry when I first heard. I was so angry. I could not even text. I had to call you, and your reaction was, it was like I just stole something from you.
Well, it was because of one, I didn't expect the decision to be made, that day so suddenly, and it's just kind of shocking because, I mean, if anything, I had said after this year. Remember what I said? I told you, Nick, there. I said, if anything, give Girardi the same kind of contract he's had, like the same money and everything, with incentives. Like he'll earn more money for every special thing the Yankees would do. I did not expect them to not even give Girardi a chance.
All right, but there's some insight that we're missing here. So first of all, I don't know. There's the statement that came out from Joe Girardi after he found out that he wasn't being retained for his services. So I'll read it to you, this is directly from Joe Girardi. With a heavy heart, I come to you because the Yankees have decided not to bring me back. I'd like to thank the Steinbrenner family for believing in me and giving me this wonderful opportunity. I'd like to thank Brian Cashman, asshole, and his staff for hiring me and always trying to improve the team. I'd like to thank my coaches and support staff for their dedication to always trying to make the players better and get the most out of them. I'd like to thank the training staff and the strength coaches for their tireless efforts to trying to keep the players on the field and healthy. I'd like to thank the clubhouse personnel for making the clubhouse our home away from home. And I'd like to thank the players for the relationships that we fostered over the last 10 years. So, and it goes on and on and on about the traveling people and all that. But you noticed how when I cringed and called Brian Cashman an asshole during that quote, because I think...
How can I forget? Well, now can I ask you two a legitimate question? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not knowledgeable in well, was Cashman's contract not coming up as well?
No, it was up. It was up, and he's actually being retained. So, and I'll tell you why he got retained, because
But they haven't signed the deal yet.
They haven't signed the deal yet, but his first responsibility to be retained was to get rid of Girardi.
Are you saying that, or are you?
No, it's being. There's news sources that are saying it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're going to say that, give me a source, please.
Yeah.
ESPN reported it through Bleacher Report. So, so it's being. They were saying that these talks were in the final stages of being secured by the time that they were deciding to get rid of him. So, and Brian Cashman went to Hal Steinbrenner and said, "We need to get rid of Joe Girardi."
I see the thing that I keep going back to as this whole process kind of tumbles around in my head is I can't just help feeling that this is a mistake, that the organization made a huge mistake letting this guy go. And Girardi's taken a lot of flack, and a lot of it is deserved, but a lot of it really isn't, because the fact that he got the job of a thankless task in replacing Joe Torre, and not only was able to win a World Series, he's never actually finished the year dipping below 500 in the 10 years he's been here.
And also,
he's also the winningest manager.
He was 910 and 710.
910, 710.
So he was 200 games over 500. And basically, I think he got the raw end of the deal. I think Brian Cashman had 9 lives as a GM of the Yankees, because there's been many instances where he could have been fired, and he hasn't. But I want to look back to 2 specific instances, and I have them up here.
Yeah, a good roster, though.
Before we get into that, can I just say my personal opinion?
Go ahead.
You were talking about the flack, Nick. For this year, maybe a little. This was kind of a controversial year for Girardi, but at the same time, like we said, he has won a World Series. He hasn't dipped below 500, despite numerous 2013-2014 roster little, but it was like Girardi made the best of those years. And so I credit Girardi a lot for that. So I feel like it was like, they didn't give him a chance. So I entered this situation like, why? It feels like you didn't give him a chance.
But honestly, what do you think their thought process was behind this?
I don't know. Part of me honestly feels this could have been a predetermined thing. Like, they probably were going into this season thinking.
Well, actually, it's funny that you say that, because Michael Kay talked about this yesterday on his radio show, that this was probably predetermined way before the year started. But there's 2 instances I want to refer to, and this might have hurt him with his chances in the front office. So Brian Hoch, who's a Yankees writer for MLB.com, referred to this today. So 2 instances. According to Girardi, he called out Gary Sanchez saying he needs to improve bottom line. That was a quote when Gary Sanchez was starting to have problems with the pass balls. And after he got called out in the media, apparently Gary Sanchez was not happy about that. And after that incident, it led to him leading the majors in pass balls for the season. That's one instance. Now, have you guys ever heard of the saying the inmates run the asylum?
Yeah. Oh God. There's an NFL situation similar to that quote, but let's not talk about it.
There's a reason why I'm bringing that up, because they were talking about this not just on Michael Kay's show, but everywhere, that the players need to be coddled, and they run their organizations. It's no longer the manager. The manager is kind of just there to babysit the players. And that's what I felt like happened here, which is Gary Sanchez got called out for his play. He got pissed at Joe Girardi, and it just led him to basically ignoring Joe Girardi, and it led to more pass balls.
Here's the thing. I got to discredit Sanchez there, because guess what? If you think the manager is bad, you're in New York. The manager will say something. The fucking media is going to have a field day with you in circumstances like that. You have to take flack.
Right.
No, yeah, you're right.
And also another instance I want to call attention to, and this was earlier in the season, when we're talking about the Chris Carter situation and Tyler Austin, and which we were talking about earlier. So Girardi was asked again why Tyler Austin doesn't seem to be a consideration for the position. This is way early in the season. And basically he called it an organizational decision to stick with Chris Carter. Well, you know what? I think that was... You can't blame that on Girardi. That's an organizational decision.
I was going to say, I blame that on Girardi. I would go to the front office of the Yankees. I'd go, okay, you, because that was one of the worst decisions ever to keep Chris Carter around.
No, I agree.
That set them back. That set them back.
I totally agree, but I think that's an organizational decision. I don't think you can put that on Girardi.
And I can kind of believe that, because there are numerous instances where the players, ownership will be like, okay, guess what? You're going to start this guy. Because there was a scene in Moneyball when there was something like that.
Now, I haven't... What?
Yeah, you're right. There was.
There was a scene in Moneyball where the owner told the GM, Billy Beane, okay, you're going to start this guy over this guy. And the guy the ownership wanted, he traded away. And he's like, okay, now you have to go with this guy.
Well, he did that on purpose because he knew that the manager wasn't going to listen. But I have some interesting audio from Michael Kay. He was on the Rich Eisen show. I think this was yesterday. And this is what he had to say about why what the situation with Joe Girardi and why he thought it happened. So take a listen, and we'll figure out.
His decision. That's really surprising to me. I always thought there was a possibility that Joe would walk away and just take a little bit of deep breath for a couple of years and then rejoin the fray. But the fact that the Yankees, they sent out a release saying that they're going to move in another direction, so they want to make it very clear that they're the ones who made the decision. That's surprising.
So what?
So Michael Kay is saying that the organization made the decision, not Girardi. So I don't know who to believe at this point. So Girardi's message is that he walked away, and the Yankee organization is saying they didn't want his services anymore. So who is it?
Well, no, didn't Girardi's statement say the Yankees have opted not to renew me?
No, but there's also some other statements out there that he
wanted to spend more time with family and such.
Well, not that. That there's speculation going around that he was going to walk away because he knew the Yankees didn't want him back. So there's kind of a confusion here.
But honestly, I'm more likely to believe that the Yankees didn't want Joe Girardi back at this point.
And I think that's a mistake, because who works better with an organization and younger players than him?
He did it with the Marlins in 2006 before he came to the Yankees.
I mean, and there's not too many managers I know that are like that. Can I be honest? There's only one that I know, and we're talking Yankee history, Buck Showalter.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think
Buck Showalter was an influence to the core four. He was there before Torre showed up.
Yeah, which leads into a good point. They actually are. They're hoping that Girardi was the Buck Showalter, and now they're going to look for their Joe Torre to take them to the finish line, let's say. But that begs the question: Who is the next man up?
Wait a minute. I was going to save this argument for later, but I'm going to go to this argument now because we talked about it before the show, the podcast. And I think that we have a major problem going around in all of the majors where every team is relying on a shitty binder rather than playing the game by chance. And I think that he got screwed because Girardi wants to manage, and instead he became so I don't know what the word is, enamored, I guess, with doing it their way, that all he did was follow the binder, and people got pissed. Throughout the years, people would say, "Stop following the fucking binder and manage."
Here's the thing about analytics in sports: I don't think they should be an end-all, be-all, but I think they're going to play a big role now in modern era of sports.
They are, and the problem I'm having is that the statement came out, and Michael Kay said it yesterday again, that the next manager they hire is going to be a guy that they can control and is going to follow every piece of paper with statistic on it that's going to be in that binder. That's not managing. If you want to go hire someone to do statistics and be in charge of a team and tell them do this, go hire a freaking kid from Harvard, pay him $50,000 a year instead of $1 million or $3 million a year, and have them run the goddamn team from press box.
It's a good point, but analytics is, and the Moneyball approach is not going anywhere.
Oh, wait, hang on. I got something I want to play.
Why do you like him?
Because he gets on base.
In the long run, I think that the way baseball is going, we should just hire a bunch of Harvard kids, pay them $50,000 a year, and have them manage from the press box. Just call down, put earpieces in all the players' ears, and just say, all right, the book says to walk this guy because he's going to hit a home run in this situation, which is 2 outs with a 3-2 count, and on a curveball, he's going to hit a home run. So we're just going to walk him. So because
Wait. So every manager is going to become Tim Kirkton?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, God. Look, I understand what you're saying, Nick. I do. But doesn't that seem a little bit like get off my lawnry?
No, because the game was never built.
These damn upstart youngsters and their goddamn numbers.
No, wait a second. I'm all for having.
I remember when sorghum just cost a nickel.
I'm all for statistics, okay? I believe in statistics, but statistics are there. You know what you have. You don't need to go by the book each time to make a decision.
See, I see a mix of both of you. I see, that analytics aren't everything to a game. If your gut says something and wants to go against the numbers, trust your gut. Will it come back to bite you? Maybe, but trust
Wait a minute. Why do you think the Cubs won a World Series?
Because they had a talented roster.
That's not the only reason. Joe Madden is not a numbers guy. He's a gut manager.
And it took him to the 7th game of the World Series. And he burned out Aroldis Chapman doing it.
But at the same time, you didn't see him pulling guys out after 4 innings like Dave Roberts did to Rich Hill, because apparently when Rich Hill gets to the 3rd time in the order, his numbers go up in a astronomical way. So, and that's what cost them, because they removed him thinking that let's follow the book, let's take him out after 2 times in the order, and we're not going to take that chance.
I look, we're not going to, we can argue about this all night, but I just want to see if I can keep this question open. Who's next?
All right. Here's what I'm just going to end the analytics argument by saying this. Yes, I think that there are going to be times when you need to go with your gut, but but don't turn away from analytics, because they're going to be part of the modern game. It's like in the world of journalism, it's like, yes, you can love an earlier time, but like Professor Gonzalez always told us, Nick, to embrace newer technologies, because that's what's going to keep you around.
That's what keeps you employed.
Right.
I'm all for technology. I love technology. I have a freaking iPhone 8 Plus, for crying out loud, okay?
I was just comparing it to another situation.
Oh, no, but I'm just saying that I love technology, okay? I will get the best of the best technology all the time. So it's not that I have a problem with technology. I just think that you shouldn't manage based on percentages, because percentages are not always right.
No, it's
good isn't always right. So you got to get the best of both worlds. That's why I say.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is a good
anyways, back to your question, Nick F., about who's next. Well, on Michael K's show, there was a clip. It was Michael K going through each of the potential guys, and it was like he was crossing a lot of them off already.
It's not that he was crossing them off. It's that he was going through a bunch of guys.
Right.
And saying that the Yankees are pretty much, in a high percentage, are going to look inside the organization. And because they like their young players, they're going to look at their AAA manager. They're going to look at the single-A manager, which, to be honest
or the coaches, or the bench coach, third base.
Right. They're going to look at Joe Espada. They're going to look at Rob Thompson, who's been with the organization for probably 15, 20 years, I think. So they're not going to be a ton of outside choices.
No. Here's the thing about the outside choices. Like Don Mattingly, guess what? For those of you who are supporting Mattingly,
it's not going to happen.
Well, here's why. I understand it, but as Michael K said, in 2008, when they were looking for their manager, which ended up being Girardi, there were three people that were being considered: Girardi, Pena, and Mattingly. Mattingly finished third.
Right. Yep.
If he loses out to Joe Girardi and Pena, he is not going to get the job now.
See, in my opinion, I think the best manager would be Tony Pena. That's where I think they should go. And they're not going to go that way because I think Pena's the same way. He'll kind of manage the day by day way, and that's not what the Yankees want.
Here's what I will do. I will give you one internal choice, one outside choice, and one from left field kind of choice, all right?
Okay.
Okay, so if I have to stick within the organization, who did you say?
Rob Thompson?
Rob Thompson, I agree with you.
Well, I said Tony Pena, but I don't think they're going to go that way. So it's either going to be, I think the number one choice is probably Rob Thompson.
Actually, you know what? I'll go 50-50 either way. It's either Rob Thompson or Tony Pena. That would be my internal choice. My outside choice, if you possibly can, try to get Buck from Baltimore to come here. It's a long shot, but
it's not going to happen because Buck Showalter is like Girardi and Torrey and those guys where they manage day by day and they just go with their gut. So it's not going to be Showalter.
All right, then there's our third option. I have mentioned this on the show before, but you guys probably forgot about it. You're both going to put a gun to my head. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it would be interesting if it does. Alex Rodriguez.
It's not going to happen. It's already been said. It's not going to happen.
What? My brain hurts now. I think you may have forced the knowledge of algebra out of my brain.
You know what? I'll tell you right now, and
I didn't even know what my name is.
I didn't say it was going to happen. I said it'd be really interesting if it did.
It's not going to happen. A-Rod doesn't want to manage.
And forest fires are interesting, Tom, but you don't really want one to happen, do you?
I don't think we got to take a risk sometimes.
You know why it's not going to happen?
And then there's giving.
He helped turn Gary Sanchez around in the hitting. He helped turn Gary Sanchez around in the hitting. He can.
Oh, so we're just going to forget all the other shit he did?
We have talked about in Gant's class about second chances. That would be a second chance for his
Nick, that's a bad argument, by the way, talking about second chances, because everyone, including us and the entire world, have all fucked up doing something. So to say, so I wouldn't call him out for that reason. I'd call him out for the sense of, first of all, his life is too good right now. He's working for Fox. He's working for ABC. He's an entrepreneur. He owns a bunch of gyms and a bunch of other things. He's not leaving his life right now. And he's dating J-Lo.
That's the other thing. Why would he? Yeah, you're right. Why would he want to get it out?
I said it's probably not going to happen, and I attribute that more to his life than to his baseball style, because he's still one of the best minds in baseball. He helped turn Gary Sanchez hitting around. He had that interview with Aaron Judge. He still has that connection to these young Yankee players.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think he wants to do it. I mean, he wants to do it, but he doesn't want to do it.
Right. No, I'm saying it's ridiculous to call that far-fetched. I mean, when you consider his personal life, what he has now, maybe not so far-fetched thing, but you get what I mean? It's like, it's not as ridiculous as people would think.
You know,
there is another out of left field choice that you haven't mentioned that I think is a little bit more plausible.
Well, there's an interesting name I saw in the newspaper today. Believe it or not, I actually opened a newspaper today.
We're talking about the same person.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Who are you saying?
I'm talking about Willie Randolph.
Oh, that's not who I was talking about.
Nah, I don't think Randolph's going to get back into managing.
No, and first of all, Willie will not get it. And Michael Kay said it again the other day that Willie is a gut manager, not a numbers manager. So you're going to put an X on him too, because he's not going to get it. So the name I was talking about, and it was in the newspaper, and
I was laughing.
I saw Raul Ibanez.
Excuse me?
Really?
That is not even left field. In fact, we have gone past the bleachers.
I know. That's why I'm saying I laughed when I saw that name.
I think that's actually an alternate dimension.
Raul Ibanez. Now, no disrespect to Raul Ibanez, but it's like, wow, that's sudden.
You know what, though? You're almost in the old bleachers in the old Yankee Stadium where if you hit a home run, like that A-Rod home, you remember that A-Rod home run that was so far into center field, like it hit like the monuments in the old park?
Yep,
like,
I remember that.
That's how far out you are. But basically, no one knows. This is the first time in a while that the Yankees haven't spoken up about anything. They're basically standing behind the statement of Joe Girardi basically walking away.
It's not so much that they don't know what they're doing. This is the Yankees we're talking about. It's just they're keeping it quiet.
Yeah, and it's kind of concerning to me that they're quiet right now.
But I'm just going to say this. Between the log jams, the youth in the field, the youth, the manager search, it's going to be an interesting spring training.
Yeah, but I think that their team is actually as best tooled as it's been in a long time.
I'm not saying it's going to be – I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying it's going to be quite interesting to see how things play out in the offseason and spring training.
I don't know.
That's a good point.
So let's move on from baseball. You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast by the Undetermined Podcast Network. Okay, guys, quickly, let's review Week 7 of the NFL.
Oy.
What shit did we see in Week 7? We saw a lot of shit.
Wait, so how did we all do?
I don't even know. I'm just more concerned about some of the matchups that we did see in Week 7. I mean, Kansas City, Oakland. Good game, but, man, it took 4 tries for the game to end.
That was bad. I'm not going to lie to you. That I wasn't watching a ton of football because I'm watching the playoffs, but and I ended up
penalty on Oakland and then 2 penalties on Kansas City. It's like, when is the actual final drive going to happen?
I saw a lot of highlights. I mean, fortunately, I caught the Giant game because I ended up working 1 to 8 on Sunday, so I didn't really get a chance to watch a ton of football. But I watched that Giant game, and I said, "Wow, the Giants are kind of in this game, and Seattle's not scoring. Maybe they have a chance." Nope. And as soon as I said that, the jinx happened.
The Bucs.
It just physically hurts me. It just physically hurts me. NFL just I can't do it anymore.
Come on, baby.
I stay on top of the games because I have to because of this podcast. I like to stay informed. But God, that doesn't mean I have to like it, and I don't.
Nick, as much as I don't like it, come on, baby. 1-8, lose to the 49ers in Week 10, and McAdoo, bye-bye, Reese, bye-bye.
They're not leaving. You know what I have to say about the Giants situation? They should have been fired a long time ago, but they're not going to get fired because Jerry Reese, just like Brian Cashman, has 90,000 million lives, and they don't get fired because of their name.
If they don't get fired and then in the draft they fail to get another offensive lineman, it's going to be a big, or at least an offensive lineman before the 4th round. It's going to be a big F. This team will have no future if those two are around and if they don't do anything in the offseason because, God, this sucks. This team sucks.
You know what's funny, though, that there was reports saying that everyone wants Eli Manning out as the quarterback because of all the interceptions and stuff he's been.
Like I said, if you're going to throw Eli out, you might as well throw the whole offense out and the head coach because.
No. I was just saying that was an over-exaggeration, I feel like, in my opinion.
It is an over-exaggeration.
You can't throw him out because I don't think it's his fault. He has no time from the offensive line.
The offensive line is terrible. If you're going to replace Eli, you need to replace the offensive line as well.
And you also need to replace Brandon Marshall. Oh, wait, he's out for the season. Let's see. Dominic.
Damn it.
Let's see. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie. Let's see. Who's left? Odell Beckham. Oh, wait, he's gone too.
No, that's just a bag of peanuts that looks like him.
I don't know, but looking through this week, I'm trying to see if I remember who I picked. Let's see. I took Tampa on the road. They lost. Let's see. I took Carolina. They won. Tennessee won.
Lost. Carolina got killed by Chicago.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at the wrong side of the score. Sorry.
Chicago D wrecked them.
I guess I was so mesmerized by the score, I said the wrong thing. Yeah, I took Carolina, and they totally got destroyed. And I have an interesting piece of audio to talk about Cam Newton, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's see. I took Tennessee. They won in overtime, which is an embarrassment, only winning by a field goal. I had Green Bay, but then the whole situation happened, and we all know the rest is history there. Mm-hmm. Jacksonville totally embarrassed Indianapolis, which I didn't expect. And basically, I don't need to talk about the rest of the schedule. It was a whole embarrassment.
I'm just going to say this. Chicago, I mean, they wrecked Carolina, particularly Eddie Jackson. Huge game by Eddie Jackson. Cleveland, oh, so close.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, that proves to me that Tennessee is really not a contender if they're only winning by 3 against Cleveland.
But you know, Cleveland, you think a win's going to come?
Yeah.
No, I gotta say, it's like waiting for Santa Claus. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but you know what? If they have another bad year and they still get a bunch of youth, a bunch of draft picks next year, that's going to be a young Cleveland team, which the expectations, you know.
Yeah, but didn't the quarterback get benched again this week?
That's the thing. They need a quarterback. They need a fucking quarterback.
Was it Cleanser, the guy that got benched?
I don't know, but
Deshaun Kaiser, because he
whatever. I don't know. I don't give a shit about the Browns. They stink.
I was going to say, they need
You don't give a shit about the Browns. They stink. You just made a really, really roundabout shit joke.
And I totally wasn't trying to either.
But yeah, Cleveland, they need a quarterback, but guess what?
Bravo.
They're needing a quarterback for generations.
I don't know, but just basically to run down quickly what I saw this week.
I saw a ton of blowouts. That's what I saw.
Well, Miami embarrassing the Jets again, even though they lost by 3. Let's see.
The Rams destroying the Cardinals.
What?
Dallas destroying San Francisco.
How about the Chargers destroying Denver?
That too. Matt Ryan and Atlanta being absolutely ineffective against a New England defense. That's shit.
And Philadelphia looking like the team to beat this year.
Carson Wentz is, as much as it pains me to say as a Giants fan, he's looking like Superman this year.
That statement just seems logically incompatible. It's like you just said 2 + 2 = 5.
Well, I thought you were going to say 2 + 2 = fish, but we can go with that one too.
Yeah. I know the Fairly Odd Parents reference, but I wasn't going to go that. I wasn't going to go that way.
Oh, okay. Well, you're no fun then. Okay.
It's an interesting week 7. Let's say that.
Yep.
Now let's talk about Mr. Newton.
Oh, do I have so many things to say about Cam Newton. Before I say my things about Cam Newton, should we talk about how he decided for like the second week in a row just to walk out because he thought he heard a stupid question?
Sure. Let's talk about that.
So let's have some context. I pulled the audio because I thought we'd want to hear.
Let's hear the question that caused him to walk away.
So let's take a listen and hear how much of a dumb shit Cam Newton is. And I have no problem saying that. Here we go.
You never know when you're in that moment and say going back and looking at that moment. You know, it's easily said than done, just like a lot of things in this sport. But, we just have to start fast and just build momentum throughout the game.
Big plays, big chunk plays, kind of get to that energy I think that you're talking about. Does this offense, and I know you had several at Detroit, New England, do you think you guys have the wherewithal to do that consistently week in and week out?
Next question.
Thank you.
He cut a reporter off. That's a jerk move.
He cut off a reporter and then walked out of the conference room.
Oh God! You know what it is? It's he's just trolling us at this point. He is.
I don't think it's a troll. I think he's just a piece of shit.
Well, I said that before this whole thing aired. I knew it because when I heard clip of the audio, I said, "Oh God, he's going to walk out again." And apparently, there's rules, by the way, for press conferences. And I looked into this because I wanted to see what it was. Apparently, you have to stay when you're brought into press conference. You have to stay there for 9 minutes.
Did he stay 9 minutes?
No, he didn't stay 9 minutes. You kidding me? And so he's been getting fined for walking out of his news conference every time, and he's going to be paying an expensive bill every time he does.
God. I'll say this. Was it the best asked question from that one question? Maybe not. Maybe that question could have been a little sharper. But was it right for him to put up a hissy fit and walk out and cut off that other reporter? No, absolutely not.
But you know what? I'm going to pull a Chris Carter here. Come on, man. Seriously.
Also, I don't know where I saw this. I'm trying to find the source of it. But I've heard that there's something else that pissed me off. Oh, yeah, it was the Washington Post. I have heard that apparently Cam Newton has been blaring music in the locker room so loud to try to, mess with the reporters doing their job.
Yeah, I heard about that too. And you know what? The whole Cam Newton thing is a joke. And I don't know what to do with him at this point.
He's not changing. He's gonna remain an immature fuck. He is a sexist pig. He is basically going to just not answer to the media because guess what? The whole NFL against Trump thing, and we know Trump's little war against the media. Cam Newton is acting just like him.
I mean, that's a little. I think that's a little over the top. But I think that
Cam Newton doesn't have access to the nuclear codes.
Oh, but Liz, I know you were going to get on me for that. But the point is, Cam Newton does not respect media. And as we hold the president, that he should respect the media. Cam Newton needs to fucking respect the media too, and not be a sexist pig.
No, I totally agree with you that Cam Newton has major issues, and he's basically turning into Marshawn Lynch with the media during the Super Bowl. And
Marshawn Lynch was fun. I mean,
Marshawn Lynch was funny. I'll say that.
Yeah, Cam Newton's just a miserable. He's just a miserable bastard.
No, but I'm saying that he's breaking the media obligation rules just like Marshawn Lynch did, where was it funny when he would stand up there and say, I'm here so I don't get fined?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, at least that was funny at least, but at the end he was filling the obligation until he had to leave. Cam Newton is showing up, answering a question or two, then saying next question and walking off. I mean, that's a dick move.
Well, what was a dick move was cutting off that one reporter. The proper thing to do was at least take that one question.
You know what he should have done if he really didn't want to be there? He should just be like, all right, he should have his phone in front of him and just be like, all right, I got to go attend to something. I can't be here anymore. At least lie.
Yeah, he doesn't even try to lie.
I'll go to the restroom and then flush himself down the toilet. He's flushed. If I could do that to get out of something, I would.
If you want me to be brutally honest, I hope the Panthers miss the playoffs. And I hope if they do make the playoffs, I hope in the first round they get absolutely wrecked by whatever the 3 seed is or 4 seed.
I don't know. It's an interesting situation from the standpoint of I'm the man. You don't tell me what to do. I do what I want. And if you don't like it too bad, I'm going to walk off.
Well, then you know what? If I'm the Panthers GM, I'm drafting another quarterback and scaring him and saying, you're replaceable.
You really think he'd do that? I don't think so.
I just hate a player with poor attitude. You are an NFL player. There are a ton of kids who look up to you. I mean, he fucking popularized dab. You know, be a good role model. What you're acting like now is just a baby, and you're not acting like a role model.
All right. And are you first realizing that some 70 or 80% of NFL players are not good role models?
I mean, that's a true point, but Cam is in the bigger spotlight here as a quarterback.
He lost his freaking Greek yogurt sponsor over the thing with the woman in the media, okay?
I know, but I'm saying he should have learned to change, and guess what? He's not going to.
He's not going to change. I told you, because he's from the standpoint of, I'm the man. You can't tell me what to do. I'm the guy that gets paid millions of dollars. I'm the quarterback, and I'm sure 32 out of 32 NFL quarterbacks are the same way.
Besides, it doesn't really matter anyway. I mean, think about it. Dan and yogurt is pretty much just. I could have ice cream, but you know what? I think I'll hurt myself for another hour trying to eat this thing.
It is kind of disgusting, actually.
I've never.
It's bad shit. I've had Greek
Really?
yogurt. It's awful. It's kind of
It's a really no big loss. But I'm just. Honestly,
I'm just saying, as a media person, this pisses me off.
With Cam's thing, we must consider the source. He's going to keep doing this. We're not going to stop him. Nothing. He's not going to get it. That's just the way he is.
But you know what? Eventually, what's going to happen, excuse me, is that he's going to get hit in the pocket so hard that eventually he's going to have to change his ways. If
he doesn't, then he better do well on the field, because one bad season and bad attitude.
No, I think eventually what's going to happen is the team is going to go to him and say, "Look, what's going to happen is he's going to have all these bad problems with the media, and eventually what's going to happen is his play is going to get affected. And once his play gets affected, and he's going to make the excuse that the media is coming after me, what do you think the team's going to say? Too bad, play better."
Right. And it's just so stupid. Like, here's the thing. Between that with the media stuff, and it was like similar with Girardi calling out, Gary Sanchez. Mark Teixeira made a comment that apparently also Girardi, always plays every day like Game 7. You know what I want to say to all about this shit? It's just, hang on, let me bring it up. You know what I say about all that?
You play to win the game.
Any excuse to use the soundboard, huh?
You play to win the game.
You do.
You don't play to just play it.
You play to win the game, boys. You play to win the game.
Thanks, Herm Edwards.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, boys. It's time to talk ESPN again.
Oh, and I just got an alert, actually, for how they're going to be laying off these employees, so it's good timing, actually.
Okay. So we're going to talk a double thing here with ESPN. There was one report that ESPN is apparently going to be laying off a ton of workers again, and then of course, most people have heard the infamous ESPN Barstool connection ended up lasting one episode.
Well, let's start with the Barstool thing, because I think that's a good place to start. So. Okay. For people in context who didn't hear the Barstool Van Talk episode, how could you? There was only one episode on, so there's really no way you could have really seen it. And by the way, you know that the second episode was going to have Dan Patrick on it?
Oh, really?
Oh, what? Huh.
So everyone's speculating that because Dan Patrick was on the second episode, that maybe they canceled it for whatever. No. So everyone who thought it was Dan Patrick, get that out of your head. Scrub that out of your head right now, because that's not the reason that they didn't air it or they canceled it. The reason that they canceled it was because apparently they were saying their attitude at Barstool is, we'll say anything or everything, even if it's insulting the people we work with.
Did they not notice that now? They noticed that now?
No, but
that's a really great attitude to have when you're working in a professional environment. I'm going to release my genitals from my pantaloons and swing it around the office. And if anybody gets hit by it or offended, well, then that's my right as a goddamned red-blooded, meat-eating American citizen. That's not the kind of attitude you want.
I think Nick's crying. I think you broke him. Yeah, he's broken. He's not answering. He's broke.
I'm good.
I'm just saying, you create this atmosphere of douchebaggery, of dude bros, and you're surprised when this shit doesn't work out? You're surprised when they start tweeting at everybody? Are you kidding?
No, I get what you're saying, but I think that, as I said to you guys before we started here, was that John Skipper, in his mind, said, "Oh, great, young content for young millennial people. This is great." You know what I mean?
Which goes to prove that man has no idea, because we are technically, the three of us are all millennials, and we don't. I think John Skipper doesn't have a goddamn clue. As sure as I am sitting in this chair, he doesn't have a goddamn clue about what we want to see in our in our radio shows. Not in our radio shows, in our programming.
Here's the thing, guys. I feel a double standard. I understand. I feel two ways. I understand, Nick, Federa, what you were saying about you have to maintain a sort of professionalism. But on the other hand, I feel like this was something ESPN could have utilized. They could have had a more modern sports journalism approach, a more edgy kind of personalities rather than the 10,000, talking heads that they employ. There was something there that could have, been worked out. There was professionalism problems on both sides, yes. I mean, the Sam Ponder situation didn't help, although Sam Ponder is not an angel by any means necessary.
Wait, context necessary so people understand. What Tom is referring to is that Barstool president, I don't know his name. If maybe we can look that up, I can find it for you. But I think he's the CEO and president of Barstool, Dave something. I can't remember his name. But
I'm blanking on his name.
I'm looking it up as we speak.
No, just keep going, guys. Keep going.
But at the same time, what happened is the president called him. Oh, it's David Portnoy. That's the guy's name.
Okay.
So he came in and called Sam Ponder a slut,
which is an awful, terrible, horrible, misogynistic thing.
Sam Ponder also did something bad on Twitter.
Well, yeah, I saw that too. But at the same time, don't call her a slut. A guy should not be calling a girl a slut.
Right. No, but also
what exactly did she say? Because I'm
pretty much bad mouthing the employees. Now, was it should he have called her a slut? No, but she also shouldn't have bad mouthed her fellow employees once this relationship was going. We're seeing a lot of bad mouthing each other at ESPN, essentially.
Well, that's not the first time. I mean, you would be way behind the eight ball if you thought this was the first time that employees were insulting each other.
But
yeah, we read the ESPN book in the first semester at Hofstra in Mazzopa's. Right. We know the kind of culture. We talked to Kevin Stolworthy, for God's sake. Right. We know what the culture is like at ESPN. It's King of the Hill. It's playing King of the Hill, but the mountain is actually made out of piranhas.
So I found the tweet, by the way, if you guys were wondering what Sam Ponder said. Right. So Sam Ponder said, "Welcome to the ESPN family at Barstool Big Cat," and in parentheses said, "and welcome to all your minions who will respond to this so kindly."
That's not really that bad.
Wait, I have the whole conversation.
Yeah, there was more.
So then Big Cat, he's the guy who essentially does a lot of work for Barstool.
He was one of the hosts of the show.
He's the host of Pardon My Take, which is the podcast that they were trying to turn into Barstool Van Talk.
Right.
So he said, "Hey, Sam, thanks for the welcome. I just want to clear one thing up. I didn't write this blog post. You make it seem like I did. And the rundown you reference, I actually defended you." So there was a reference.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it better. Like, she came after Big Cat when she should have been going after President.
Right.
Big Cat had nothing to do with it.
So then Sam Ponder says, "What happened to your first tweet? Also, I see you will already remove the rundown. The transcript still exists." So basically, they're having an argument. And then Sam Ponder says, And if he wants to change the tweet to all of Barstool Sports, sure, I'll concede that it's the whole company thing. But he also deleted his tweet to me, and they removed the "she's a slut" on the rundown.
So should he have called her a slut? Absolutely not. But don't shoot the messenger. Basically, Big Cat had nothing to do with it.
Well, he wasn't the one that called her a slut, but I mean, she's not reprimanding the guy who did it.
She's going after him because he had the Barstool attached to him, which is not right.
But if he's the head of Barstool, if Portnoy is the head of Barstool, he should have been reprimanding his writer for doing that.
No, but here's the other problem. So Sam Ponder, at the end of this conversation, put out a tweet that said, "I was wrong in thinking at Barstool Big Cat wrote that article and called me a slut repeatedly. He just continuously laughed along. It was the president at Barstool Sports who said these things. Happy to clarify."
It is.
So I see this as, yeah, there's a lot of unprofessionalism in this matter, but I also see it was also kind of mishandled in that ESPN kind of misses out now on what could have been, a more modern, help them bring him into the modern style. Like I mentioned weeks ago, I hate this format that ESPN is like everything is debate.
Well, what I was going to say in the long run with this is, and this is irony, but this is a lot of he said, she said.
Yeah, I can't deny that.
Literally.
It is. It really is.
It just saddens me of the Barstool thing only because, like I said, I feel like it could have been something fresh for ESPN. It was perfect, as we were mentioning before, Nick Morrison, for the late night shift on ESPN.
Well, right, because then you don't have to watch freaking 5 hours of SportsCenter in a row.
Also, it kind of breaks away from ESPN's pattern of just the talking heads and everything. Like that was, remember we were talking about
they made their bed, they have to sleep in it. And they are, yeah.
But wait, Nick, I'm just saying, because remember we talked about Jamel Hill and the 6 weeks ago? My problem with the show is not about Jamel Hill or anything. My problem, or Michael Smith, my problem is that it's the same format as, basically all the ESPN shows. Basically, what works at 2 p.m. doesn't work at 6 p.m.
No, it doesn't. And that's the problem. And actually, believe it or not, I disagree with you. I think it is a Jamel Hill problem because I think it's just the format of being repetitive over and over again. No, but she's got a big mouth and she doesn't know how to control it.
But when I come home from work, I know we have smartphones already, but let's say you don't have the advantage of looking at your phone constantly. When I'm come home at 6, I want the news. I want the information. I don't want celebrities and talking.
I'm agreeing with you. No, that part I agree with you on. That I feel that the 6 p.m. Sports Center, which for the longest time was hosted by Lindsay Zarniak, and for people who are wondering where Lindsay Zarniak was, she actually did not agree to a new contract. So that's why she's not at ESPN right now, hosting the 6 p.m. Sports Center. So she made the 6 p.m. Sports Center the most popular sports center for the longest time while she was doing it alone with nobody else.
And Nick, I remember your response, Nick Federa, your response to something similar was that, oh, well, then don't watch ESPN. Can I be honest? I don't. I don't watch either. Around the Horn. I watch Pardon the Interruption. I watch maybe occasionally a college football or basketball game. But other than that, I'm with the MLB network, the NFL network, the NHL network. And it's funny because we talk in Gant's class about how, I'm an example of that. I just go straight to the producer of the shows, the lead.
Because their coverage is getting better.
Exactly. And they have all the old talents. Like, they have a bunch of old ESPN analysts and stuff.
Here's what I think, and I made this point a long time ago, and we can reference it now because it brings context, is that ESPN is not the only network to watch for sports anymore. It's MLB Network, like you said, Tom, NFL Network, NBA TV. You can watch
podcast. It's this podcast. It's Cheap Seat Sports. You can look up any topic, any show, and everybody will have a take on anything.
That's the problem with this world of radio and becoming podcast centric. Anyone can host a podcast now and have their own take.
Hello. Hello, with the Unspoken Podcast, we have takes aplenty.
that's what I'm saying, that because of the podcast world, anyone can go online as long as they have a microphone and an audio recording software and record a podcast. So you no longer need to sit and watch SportsCenter for 5 hours a day anymore.
So ESPN, I mean, I guess this thing, didn't work out, professionalism issues and stuff, but you need something. You need an edge again.
They don't have it. And I think that's what's leading to, as you were starting to say, that what?
The cord cutters.
Well, cord cutters, right. And because of cord cutters, now they have to lay off more people. And it's not just them, actually. I was reading the other day that Yahoo, CBS...
Well, didn't Fox try the all-video format for their website?
They still are, and it's hurting them big time. But yeah. I'm saying, because they had to fire essentially all their writers. Ken Rosenthal, who wrote for Fox Sports, do you know where he's writing now? Because I do.
Where?
The reason no one knows where he's writing is because he's writing for The Athletic, which is a pay site.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I mean, you know what? As much as we like being cheap and such, hey, if you want good journalism, you want to support journalism, got to pay up, in all honesty.
This is the field that we're going into, me and Tom at least. I mean, we want to be able to be one of these highfalutin voices in journalism, whether in sports or not. Am I correct in assuming that?
Right. And that's the thing. I think one of my friends had argued this, like, if you want to support journalism, if you want good journalism, you should pay for your stuff, because journalism is depending on advertising for its money.
No, well, that's the problem.
There is a difference between good journalism, actual solid research and stories, and actually having a valid opinion with the facts to back it up, and just take spewing. And I just feel like it's Barstool and ESPN, although I love I shouldn't say I loved. I could see the where the casual atmosphere might be, successful. I just feel like, there needs to be an element of actual professional journalism behind it, and I just don't see how.
That's fair, but then ESPN needs to find something. And
I just want to get to one quick point, because I know
we're running out of time. I know,
but we were talking about this, Tom. 100 employees are going to be laid off again at ESPN, and now a report just came out from the Orlando Sentinel,
right,
that said that ESPN is going to lay off 40 to 60 more employees by the end of this year alone.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
They are just going to keep bleeding and bleeding and bleeding like the Predators.
And yet they'll spend billions of dollars on one crappy Monday Night Football game a week and a bad playoff game.
How about not just Monday Night Football? How about guys and girls? They just signed Katie Nolan. They just brought on Wojnarowski, which in my opinion I think was one of their better signings. They had to do it. But
here's the thing. Stop with the talking heads, because when this first came out about all the cutoffs, Gonzalez was like, they should cut the talking heads. Gonzalez, I mean Professor Gonzalez, one of our old professors at Hofstra.
What talking heads are you referring to specifically?
I know, but like the guys who just appear on television and they don't write or anything. They just talk.
So you're talking about like the Stephen A's and...
Because as a journalist, we've been preached to over and over again that today in modern day, you need to do everything.
Right, and I've said that to you, Tom, that I think if you're in today's world of media, you have to be able to write, you need to be able to do radio, you need to be able to do TV, and then you have to do social media when you're not doing any of those three.
Right.
It's a lot of hats for a person to wear, and it's just, you can't just wear one nowadays. That's not how the business is constructed. And they're poaching, they're training us in order to be able to shuffle these hats, almost like it's a dress montage in an 80s movie.
Right, and I love it. But seeing the talking heads get more of the attention, it's sad.
I'll give you a for instance. So I'm not going to go way into this, but my job at WABC, where how I had to get my job, being a board operator or call screener.
You have to do everything.
You have to do everything. When I went in for my interview, and I'm not going to go into everything because I really can't, but what I can say is that I had to explain my whole resume, everything that I did. I had to be able to run a board. I had to be able to screen calls. I have to be able to read a log. I have to be able to make sure all the commercials played. I had to know how to do everything from sports to news. And because like they ask you now, even though I was going for a board op for news, they said, what other stuff do you know how to do? And I had to say to them, I know I've done sports talk radio. I've done music radio. It's just, you have to be able to do everything.
Mm-hmm. You listen to the Unspoken Podcast on the Undetermined Podcast Network. All right, so let's do a quick rapid rundown, boys. I got the games right here. Just throw out a name, all right? So, London matchup, 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, Minnesota and Cleveland, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
That's Minnesota.
Oakland and Buffalo. I'm going to actually go with Buffalo.
It's Buffalo at home?
Yep.
I am taking Buffalo.
Oh, no, I'm going to Oakland. I hopefully, if Derek Carr's healthy, it's going to be Oakland.
Indy and Cincinnati. I'm going Cincinnati.
I'm taking Cincy.
We're off to Cincinnati.
LA Chargers in New England. It's obviously New England.
Oh, of course. Really? You really think anybody picking against
The one scary thing is I could say that the Chargers beat Denver. So it gives them a little false...
This NFL season's so predictable.
As I said, it gives you false hope, but it's still New England.
Right. Chicago and New Orleans. I'm going to give it to New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm going to take New Orleans.
This game is a lot closer than people think it is, but it's definitely New Orleans.
I can still see New Orleans running the ball all around the place, even with the Chicago defense. Atlanta and the Jets. Matt Ryan, if you can't do anything... If you can't do anything against the Jets, I don't know, man. I'm going Atlanta.
If you only do one thing this year, make sure it's beat the Jets, please.
Yeah, this is not even a cause for conversation. It's got to be the Falcons.
Let's go in Philadelphia, because obviously Philly's getting another win.
Yeah, of course. Get them paper bags out. Oh, good.
You can mark a W.
Carolina and Tampa Bay. I want to root for Tampa Bay so bad, but I got to go with Carolina.
I might have to take Carolina, too. I mean, I know we just spent an entire segment talking about Cam Newton, but, you know, objective reality being what it is, it always pees on people's parades.
I say the two of you are way off this week, and it's going to be Tampa Bay because I just think that what's going on in that locker room right now is toxic, and it's going to be Tampa Bay at home. Tampa Bay actually plays pretty well at home.
That's a fair point, the Tampa Bay at home. Houston and Seattle. An AFC team hasn't beaten the Seahawks in Seattle since Week 8 of 2011. I think that streak's going to continue, Seattle.
That streak will go on. I'm taking Seattle.
All right, impressive on that stat there. But, yeah, definitely Seattle.
Dallas and Washington. Cowboys allowing 23.5 points per game, 11th worst in the league. Washington's tied for 7th worst at 24.5. It's got to be Dallas.
I'm going to go against the grain and pick Washington.
Interesting.
No, I'm not picking Kirk Cousins. Definitely not. And he's been really bad this year. It's definitely going to be Dallas.
Sunday night game of the week, Pittsburgh and Detroit. Steelers have won 4 straight against the Lions, and it's going to continue. Steelers.
Yeah, it's Steelers. Even though they've been struggling, it's definitely Steelers with the Martavis Bryant situation, which we didn't even talk about. But
leave that for next week.
Yeah, but it's Pittsburgh.
And finally, Monday night game of the week, Denver and Kansas City. Chiefs have the most defensive touchdowns since 2015. Broncos have the second most. Chiefs have 12, Broncos have 11. I got to go with Kansas City.
Oh, boy. I mean, after Denver laid an egg against the Chargers, I don't know how I can pick them. So, and Kansas City is one of the best home teams on all of the NFL this year.
Right.
So it's the Chiefs.
And even though Kansas City's gone down in recent weeks, they're gonna bounce back.
Yeah, but the Chargers laid a fucking egg against. I mean, the
Denver laid an egg against Chargers, yes. But I'm just saying, as much as Kansas City has struggled a little bit recently, they're gonna turn things around. They're still a great team. And
yeah, they'll get back.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Unspoken Podcast. Go like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope at the UDUP. And go like and follow all the rest of the Undetermined Podcast Network accounts. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Unspoken Podcast. For Nick Federa, for Nick Morganson, I'm Tom Alvano. We'll see you next week. You've been listening to the Unspoken Podcast, Juicy Sports Production Party Undetermined Podcast Network. Episode 43 next week. Until then, take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hello? You play to win the game.